I want to give a shout out to my company book club. I don't want to say the name of the business where I work, but the book club at my office is just made up of ladies that read romance novels, and they found out about the podcast and they have rallied around it in a big way.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And it's really, really kind and sweet of them. So ladies, you know who you are.
Megan's coworkers.
Stephanie, Jamie, and Zoe. I love you guys. And my favorite thing is they have a little lending library at the office that they call the Smut Hut.
Oh my gosh.
So shout out. You ladies are the real ones. Love you.
I like to think that it's decorated with like little I know it isn't, but in my mind it's decorated with like little hearts and like little
I was
little
picturing
knots.
little tentacles and things.
Oh,
Hey.
It just has a bunch of little suckers up the side.
I'll buy them some paint pens as a gift.
That's cute.
It can go wild.
You could slip some of our podcast books in there.
We need to make some merch and give them the merch.
You know, so one of the things I had a thought of today, I was going to ask your husband if he would 3D print a milk carton that I could paint to make it say Minotaur milk.
Do it. Dave loves using his 3D printer.
Any
Any excuse. So give him a project, please.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. So Emmy, you took us on a wild adventure this week.
Yes, I did. We bought rats in a parking lot together.
For pets, not for any other more nefarious reasons.
Although it's fair, given that knowing that Megan is a reptile girly, to be like, were these food rats? And the answer was no. They were pet rats.
Yes.
I decided they needed an interim pet because Butch the bird still
wants to be an only bird.
He wants to be an only bird, and he's still probably got a few good years left in him. And
rats are perfect then.
Yeah,
they live like 3.
It's like 2 to 3 years.
5 years at most.
Yeah. And so I was kind of figured that by the time the rats are gone, maybe Butch will be gone too.
And it's funny because you were like, "Hey, do you want to come with me to pick up my cute pet rats?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I absolutely want to. Yes." But the process of getting them was surreal.
So weird.
I mean, obviously, if you're a rat breeder, maybe you're already a little strange.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
There's a type of person who becomes a rat breeder. And that's
any animal breeder.
Sure.
To be honest. I don't care if you're breeding dogs, cats, like lizards. If you've decided this is what I want to devote my home space to, you've made a choice for yourself.
Yes.
But this lady was like very controlling and strange. She was like, stay in your car, pull into this parking spot, roll down your window. I will hand you rats through the window.
Oh my gosh.
And then she made us stay, like she was like, you can stay in the car and evaluate the rats, move them into this intermediate cage if you want them, and then I will return
and pick up the rest of
the rats. It was very strange.
It was one of those things of it's like, okay, this is a weird system, but it does technically work. But I wasn't expect to be, say, fondling rats in my car.
It's a very elaborate setup. Yeah. I think just to avoid no one coming in your apartment.
Yeah.
Which is, I get
that's
not
valid.
wanting that.
Yeah.
And what do you do? Like, how do you give people rats if you don't want them in your house? Do you like meet at a Starbucks and like
with
there's very limited
rats.
Options. So I guess on some level I'm impressed with the elaborate specificity
that she's come up with,
but it was surreal.
It was, and so you and I are sitting in my teeny tiny little car with rats in our laps and basically being like, do I want to keep you?
Right. And you're like, oh my God, what if one of these rats jumps out of my hands and escapes? She gave us a whole protocol for what to do. She did
specifically say, if one of them escapes, let me know and I will come down with a rat trap and we can basically try to bait the rat.
She said one time it took her 45 minutes to get a rat out of someone's car. And I'm like, there's got to be a better system than this.
I was remembering one time I saved a kitten. I jumped out of a car, saved a kitten in the middle of a road, brought it back into the car, and then it immediately crawled into the wiring at the front of the car, and we were freaking out. It was like, what are we supposed to do if the kitten's in the wiring?
Did the cat make it?
The cat made it. I was able to like bring it out. I was able to grab it and get it in the backseat, and then it just climbed into the wiring underneath the seat, and I was just like, you know what?
This isn't as fun as it seems in the movies.
Yeah. When she said that the rats could potentially get in the wiring, I had PTSD flashbacks.
No good deed goes unpunished, Emmy.
But now I'm the owner of 4 girl rats.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 little white ones, 2 little black ones, and
they're very cute.
They are very cute, and they all have very distinct personalities so far.
And I know they're settling in well, which is great.
Yeah. Names incoming. I'm waiting to name them till I know them better.
Wait until you get attached. It's only been a few days.
Yes.
You need to let them get comfortable and all that good stuff. You want to tell the people who we are?
I'm Emmy.
And I'm Megan.
And this is Smut in Public.
Smut in Public.
Smut in Public. This is a podcast where we read, rate, and review romance novels.
And we like to bring you the most deceptive of smut.
Yes, a very deceptive, stony
the
book today.
flappiest, stoniest of smut. That got less sexy.
It did. Well, I don't know.
Do-over.
Maybe 50-50, flappy, stony. Meh.
Have you ever thought flappy and gone, that's hot?
No, as soon as you said flappy, I remembered Flappy Bird was a thing.
I don't know what Flappy Bird
It's
is.
a very stupid video.
I was thinking flappy penis. Okay.
That reminds me of when you watch the Olympics, especially the joggers, and they slow it down because obviously the jog, it's only 10 seconds for the short runs. But for the men, when they slow it down, you just see bits bibbling and bobbling around. And
I have never noticed that, but I'm going to next year.
Yes,
I'm
next
ready.
time you watch the Olympics, it'll be on your mind. All right, today's book is Deceived by the Gargoyles by Lillian Lark. This was published in 2022. It's 414 pages. This is number 2 in the Monstrous Matches series, which is still ongoing, with the most recent book, Married to the Devil, which came out in December 2024, which I pre-ordered. I liked it. It was good. You can read this book as a standalone, but you're going to get more out of it if you read the rest of the books.
And we actually reviewed book 1, Stalked by the Kraken, on our episode 4 review, and we are now at episode 15.
Oh my gosh.
How far we have come.
Yes.
Very exciting. And Lillian Lark knows who we are.
She does. She loved our other episode.
Which is really exciting.
Yeah, and we loved this book, so we were like, we've got to do another Lillian Lark episode.
This book, Deceived by the Gargoyles, is my favorite one of the Monstrous Matches series.
Same.
And so it really felt appropriate to revisit this Lillian Lark banger.
Yeah. For the synopsis, Grace Starling is a stylish plus-sized witch who's been trying to distance herself from her prominent family because of how they treat her. She's ready to settle down, but the men that she's dating only have one thing in mind: her family connections. Grace decides to seek out Rose Love, the paranormal matchmaker from Stalked by the Kraken, and Rose matches Grace with Elliot Bramblewick, a gargoyle with whom she forms an instant connection. Despite their chemistry, Elliot seems to be holding back with Grace. Soon, she discovers he isn't single. In fact, he has 2 mates, Broderick and Alistair. Elliot doesn't just want Grace for himself. He hopes that Grace will join the Gargoyles' existing 3-way relationship. Grace is overwhelmed by the attentions of not 1, but 3 new suitors who are intent on adding her to their gargoyle clan. However, they aren't the only ones pursuing her. One of her previous bad dates won't take no for an answer, and his escalating attempts to get her attention drive Grace into the protective wings of the Bramblewicks. Can someone who's never had a loving family let herself be cared for by this clan who wants to embrace her? Or will Grace let her insecurities ruin her potential happiness?
So, vibes for this book. This is a polyamory book, MMMF, triple MF quad. It is, of course, a monster romance, and you get spicy scenes in both human and monstrous forms. We'll talk more about how they change between forms. There is heavy sword crossing in this book, it's so good, meaning that the boys do sleep together, both by themselves individually and then also with the FMC involved. It is a multiple POV book, so you get to hear from everyone in the partnership and get all of their different perspectives, which I really enjoy. And it is, of course, a contemporary setting, but it's in a world where magic and paranormal and mythical beasts live secretly alongside humans, just sort of under the radar, right? The FMC is plus-sized, and this is a very good plus-size representation book, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is plus-sized approved from 2 plus-size gals.
Yes, we speak with authority on this one topic only.
Yes. All right, the content warnings for this book. As the title indicates, there is some scheming and trickery involved in this romance. Despite the intentional lying Elliot does at the beginning, it felt like a mild wrongdoing. The main antagonist in this book is someone stalking the FMC, so there are a lot of themes around being watched and receiving unwanted gifts and like threatening messages. This is not a sexy stalker book.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is not meant to be a dark romance.
No, definitely
Pick
not.
a different genre.
Yeah, and Grace also discusses body image issues, but this is done from a body positive place. Besides lying and stalking, some of the other items on the shopping list are polyamory, mating bonds, nodding, and a breeding kink.
I liked the breeding kink in this book, and it can be controversial for me. I just have to be in the right mood for it.
Yeah.
But I really liked it in this book.
It's always good to find out if there might be that case. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For me, what got me in the door was the nodding.
Ooh, you like a knot? Knots are very common in werewolf
That
books.
is true.
Right?
Yeah.
And I love a knot as well. So I'm happy to see that the gargoyles are a knot species.
Yes. I feel like I was introduced to knots via the Omegaverse in Korean comics. So not werewolf. And, I know Omegaverse is a weird thing,
Yes.
but in Korean comics, it's all not werewolves. But they have knots there. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, and that's not KNOT, like tying a knot in a string. And we'll talk more about what that means in a little while. Yeah. Speaking of knots, this is a 5 chili book.
5 chilies.
There is a ton of spice in this novel, especially for the page count. And you get all the fun, different like configurations of people.
There's tails involved. There's
those
wings.
guys together, and then me and together, and then all three of us together, and then two of us together, and one of us is watching everything.
Yeah.
You get all of it.
They do more than build an Eiffel Tower in this one.
Oh, definitely. And you also get smaller group configurations. You get the full 4 of them together.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of spice to go around in every different configuration that you can imagine. And I'm so happy to report that this is another 5 rainbow book.
Hooray, 2 in a row.
Yay. So there are queer relationships. They are on screen. They are central to the plot. And you get, I think, a really nice mixture of straight sex and queer spice all throughout the entire book. And if you liked the relationship in Pucking Around, which was our episode last week, this is another great example of a interesting quad relationship book,
Yes.
4-person partnership. But for this one, it really forms around a male character initially, instead of a female main character, which I thought was a nice change to
it was a nice
to the
switch
genre.
up. Yeah, it was fun.
We're going to take a quick pause for spoilers, and we're going to come back with the rest of the story after the break. One of the great privileges we've had since launching Smut in Public has been meeting authors and fellow creators who share our love of spicy romance.
We find new book besties every day, and supporting their work helps us all build a community together.
Our new book bestie, Ari, runs the Spicy Romance Book Club. It's an online apparel brand with cozy fits, perfect to wear as you curl up with the next book on your TBR list.
The Spicy Romance Book Club is a small, female, POC-led business, and Smut in Public listeners can enjoy 15% off their entire store order with promo code SMUTINPUBLIC.
Find your next book bestie by wearing your love of spicy romance literally on your sleeve. Right, good girl?
Megan, you're making me blush. Save it for the episode.
Okay, fine. Visit thespicyromancebookclub.com and use promo code SMUTINPUBLIC for 15% off your entire order. See you at the bookstore.
Before we start on this book, I just want to point out that the dedication says, "To my husband, I'm sorry/not sorry that you now know what nodding is."
Which is also a pun. Sorry/not sorry that you now know what nodding is.
I was trying to imagine the awkward conversation where Lillian Lark was attempting to describe to her husband what knots were and why monster girlies think that they're hot.
My husband at this point just accepts anything that comes out of my mouth without question. He's like, yeah, sure.
Okay, Megan,
Tentacles,
sure.
knots,
Yeah.
sounds great.
Sounds great, sweetie.
I'm in. Love that. I love that for you.
I love that can-do attitude.
Correct. So why don't we just explain it? It's going to come up later.
It is.
So a knot is, you have a man's member, right? You have a penis, an eggplant, and the knot is a swell at the base of the penis, right? Like right next to the body.
Yeah.
That is often described as maybe tennis ball sized or softball sized, depending on the size of
Depending
the
on
member.
whose knot it is.
And the knot in animals canonically is so that when you're having sex and the knot will swell up in your entrance in order to
To lock you together.
Correct. To lock the man and the woman together.
Yeah.
And what I have read is that evolutionarily, this is to sort of help the male of the species ensure that the female is pregnant and ensure that the baby she is pregnant with is his.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a we keep you here until it takes kind of a situation.
And I think it's something that like wolves have.
Yeah, I think it's technically a dog thing.
I'm probably wrong about all of that. Yeah. But that's what I vaguely remember from having looked it up. So it's very common in werewolf books and in certain other paranormal romances for that species to have a knot. In this book, gargoyles have knots.
Yeah.
Love that.
We just love knots.
Sorry, not sorry, Mr. Lark. Monster girls love knots.
Yep.
So Grace is our main female character, Grace Starling. She is a witch, and you might recall from our episode 4 review that in this world, humans are not aware that witches and various paranormal creatures live among them. They're really like living below the radar. Kind of, I think we said it was almost like True Blood.
Yeah, it is a bit like True Blood.
Like True Blood. You and I had a debate about the difference between supernatural and paranormal.
Yeah.
By the way.
She uses paranormal for the entirety of everything in this.
Yes.
And that was when I was helping write this script, I wrote supernatural and everything.
Yeah. So I was, just for my own curiosity, I looked up the difference.
Yeah, what is the difference?
So paranormal creatures are things that are like explainable by science, potentially. So like Bigfoot is a paranormal creature.
Okay, like the chupacabra.
The chupacabra. Cryptids.
Right.
Things that are considered cryptids are paranormal.
Interesting.
Mothman, paranormal.
All right.
But things that are explicitly magical are supernatural.
Oh, okay.
So actually, I think in this genre, witches are supernatural, but all the creatures are considered paranormal.
All right. Yeah, I had assumed that paranormal was witchy, ghosty stuff. I thought it was the opposite.
Way around.
Yeah, no, it turns out. Well, now we've all learned something today.
Yes, yes. Enjoy.
That's what this podcast is here for. Education.
That correct. And funny noises.
And funny noises.
And snakes and pissing off bird people.
And informing you what knots are.
Yep, there you go. You're welcome. You're welcome. So Grace's magic isn't flashy, and we're doing so many like vocabulary lessons. I looked it up, and the term for it is psychometry.
Oh, yes.
Which is when you can touch objects and physically read the emotions that are left behind. And her specialty is paper and books. So she's not just like going around touching chairs and things. It's paper products specifically, which of course makes her job really convenient because she is in charge of kind of cataloging and analyzing rare books and manuscripts for a paranormal library.
Yeah, dream job, I assume.
Absolutely dream job. Now, her family is an old money witch family, and Grace is definitely the black sheep of that family. For starters, her magic is not considered powerful or impressive in any way. I guess they want her throwing fireballs around.
Right.
Or maybe something that's going to help them with tax evasion. I don't know what a rich witch families
Turns
need.
out feeling things from paper doesn't really earn you a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, apparently it's not especially prestigious. And as we've said, she's also plus size, and she enjoys wearing vintage clothing. So I was kind of picturing like a size 16, 18 Dita Von Teese. But definitely she does not fit the mold of what her family expects from her on every category.
Yeah.
How she looks, how she dresses, her job, her magic, like all of it is kind of just a little disappointing.
I was just about to say, you could feel that familial disappointment from like far away.
Definitely. Now, because she's from such a prominent witching family, her mom puts a ton of pressure on her to date what I'm going to call the right kind of men.
Right.
And inevitably those dates go poorly because they are not looking for someone like her, right? They kind of are looking for someone that fits into the mold of these, waspish seeming families. And her most recent bad blind date was a setup from her mom, and his name was Theo. He basically sat on his cell phone for the entire date and completely ignored her and then had the audacity to ask her out again.
The fucking gall to be like, when's date number 2?
Yeah. Big NO on the Theo. And he's unfortunately going to come back later.
Yeah.
So Grace decides she cannot sit through one more shitty blind date. And so she reaches out to an old school friend of hers named Rose Love, who is the main female character from book 1, Stalked by the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
And she is a paranormal matchmaker who runs the sex bathhouse.
Oh, yeah. Such a good setup. Loved it.
Fantastic. So Grace, knowing that she's going to go see a matchmaker, puts together a list of qualities that she hopes for in a man, and she carries that list with her to the meeting. And it's a lot of like really normal requests, but
Yeah.
maybe things that it would be hard to all find in the
In
same
one
guy.
person, yeah.
So, she wants someone that's funny and thoughtful and passionate, but also a book lover, and also they have to want kids, and we have to have good sexual chemistry.
Yeah.
So it's not an unreasonable list, but she's really hoping that with the help of this matchmaker, she can find all of those things in one person.
And while discussing her ideal partner with Rose, Grace clearly states that she only wants a monogamous relationship. Rose manages to match her the very next day with Elliot Bramblewick. Love that last name. Gonna love saying it this entire
You were
video.
obsessed with it. You were like,
I put it
Bramblewick,
in.
Bramblewick.
I put it in as many times as I could. It's a great name.
It is really cute.
Oh man, it's very whimsical. Grace doesn't know anything about gargoyles. They're a relatively rare species who keep in their family groups as clans. Elliot shows up to their date snappily dressed and wearing a magical glamour that gives him a human appearance. So gargoyles in this world look like the 90s cartoon Gargoyles.
Goliath. Yes.
I went and refreshed my gargoyle knowledge because I remember watching it as a kid, but I don't actually remember that much about it.
It was mid-90s, so
Yeah.
you would have been very little.
I was alive enough to remember gargoyles, but I do just remember watching it and going, oh, he's so handsome.
I want him to just whisk me away.
I want us to just fly away.
Yes. So Goliath, who is the main character and kind of the clan leader in the Gargoyles cartoon, is absolutely Alistair in this book. And I don't think that the other two Gargoyle boys really
They didn't seem to match one of the other gargoyles in the show.
No, I agree. But I picked up on this reference because there are certain points where Lillian Lark describes that they use their wings as kind of capes. They
Love that
wrap them
detail.
around themselves and have like a little claw on one of the joints that holds it like a clasp of a cape. And that exactly is what happens in the Gargoyles cartoon.
Yeah.
And Lillian Lark has written about this was intentional.
This was intentional. She did say that that was the thing that inspired her to write the gargoyles this way.
Which I'm obsessed with.
Oh, yeah.
A woman after our own hearts.
Elliot and his two clanmates, Broderick and Alistair, run a business together as restorationists working on old buildings. Grace loves old things, mostly books, but in general appreciates history. She does vintage clothes. She's got the old books kind of thing.
There's clearly like a history nerd connection happening there.
Yeah. And Grace interprets Elliot's relationship with Broderick and Alistair as brotherly, and he quickly corrects her that they are not brothers. And she interprets this as, well, yeah, sure, not by blood. And Elliot lies by omission to avoid telling Grace that they are, in fact, his mates. After a date full of charm and easy conversation, Grace isn't worried that they're two different species. He already checks off at least a third of her list, and she's feeling like Rose nailed it.
Fortuitous.
Oh, only a third of the list.
I wonder how she'll get that other 2/3. So as their dating continues, Elliot and Grace have a very comfortable vibe with each other, and there's obviously an attraction there, but Elliot is being standoffish with Grace a little bit. He's holding back, clearly, and she does not know why. He won't even give her their first kiss.
Yeah.
Which is very sus. And after a week, Grace is starting to feel like maybe he's just not physically attracted to her.
Yeah.
She's plus sized. It has happened to her before. And when she decides to confront him about it, he shows her exactly how physically attracted he is. But he does admit that he's been holding back because he values his family and he really wants them to meet her before their relationship progresses physically. Grace totally understands the pressure of wanting your family's approval, so she accepts this explanation. It makes perfect sense to her.
Yeah.
But we, of course, know that Elliot is being deceptive because the real reason is he doesn't want to be cheating on his partners, right? He knows he hasn't explained this Grace situation to them yet, and kissing her feels like cheating on them. But in the meantime, he's been avoiding them also because being with them somehow feels like he's cheating on Grace, and he has gotten himself into a very sticky situation.
Yes.
So he is desperately looking for a way to get all of them on board with his foursome plans, and he has to find a way to do that. So, as I said, back at home, Elliot is being cagey.
Super suspicious.
He's busy. He's distracted. They can both tell that something's up with him. And they actually suspect that it might be a person because according to the rules of their threesome, Elliot is absolutely allowed to date outside the clan, but he is supposed to talk to them about it
Supposed to check in first. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of an assumption that both of them are making. And Broderick gets an opportunity to find out what's going on when Elliot, not that subtly, slips up to him and goes, "Hey, are you going to the work site on Saturday?" And Broderick's like, "I have some stuff going on. Why do you ask?" And Elliot's like, "Oh, no reason."
No reason. Yeah.
So obviously Broderick finds a way to be at the office.
Yeah. He's going to find out what's going on one way or another. On their weekend date, Elliot brings Grace to a work site where the Gargoyles are restoring an old building. And she runs into Broderick in his gargoyle form. And this is the first time she's seen one because Elliot is always in his glamour.
Right.
Broderick is flirty and he approaches their interaction like, "Oh, so you're the dirty little secret that Elliot's been keeping. Well, I approve." And they have an instant attraction, which makes Grace feel embarrassed because she assumes that Broderick is like Elliot's brother. When he starts hitting on Grace,
she's like, "Whoa, man.
"Whoa,
Not
no,
cool."
hey, I'm dating your brother." And he's like, "Brother?"
Yeah, but before they can even really resolve why he's laughing like that, Alistair walks in.
Yeah. And when she's like, "Oh, your other brother," and he does not find that comment cute
He's
at
not
all.
laughing.
He's like, "What do you mean, brother?"
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And this is the point where she's like, "Oh, if they're not brothers,
They're partners.
they're partners."
Fuck. Yes.
Nothing worse than finding out that your new boyfriend has other boyfriends that you didn't know about.
100%. And so Grace is in the process of storming out from this realization.
Fair.
And she obviously assumes that Elliot has been cheating on his partners. They haven't technically done anything, even kissed, but running around on his partners and jerking her around too, frankly. But she does give Elliot a chance to explain himself outside the building. And he tries to explain to Grace that he always intended to introduce all of them to each other, but it's hard to find the right time.
Yeah.
And Elliot and Grace really were matched by Rose, by the way. So he knows in his heart that they all have to be meant to be together.
Yeah.
That if he and Grace are a match, then she's obviously going to be a match for the other people that he loves and his clan as well. And he just didn't want to scare her off by coming to her and saying, "Hey, it's not one person, it's three people," right away. It's hard to open with that.
Yep.
So Grace takes some time to cool off, and in the meantime, Elliot now has to go to apologize to his mates, Alistair and Broderick as well. And he says, "Guys, there's something that's been off between the three of us lately. And I think that Grace could be the glue to kind of pull our relationship back together."
Yeah.
And Broderick is pretty chill about that idea. He's definitely open to it, especially now that he's seen how hot Grace is. But Alistair is pretty skeptical and critical of this and basically, says, "Elliot, you can't just save our relationship by adding another person to it."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's not a houseplant. She's her own person.
Yeah, and this is definitely the poly version of the monogamous thing of trying to have a baby to fix a relationship.
Or a pet.
Or a pet
let's get a
or
dog
something.
and distract ourselves
Yeah,
from
let's
our
just
problems.
get something else in here. The new energy will make us all feel better. I really liked how Alistair had that
Questions
conversation.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, are we honestly adding someone because we think it's going to just fix things? Or are we adding someone because they're going to add value?
Yeah.
And they definitely come around to it's because she belongs with us. She's going to fit as a person.
Yes.
And I really appreciated that they had this conversation because I've seen a lot of polyamorous relationships where it's like, no, you just got a new girlfriend because you were bored. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of realism that Lillian Lark puts into this part of her relationship stuff and really good communication, which I adore.
Grace can admit that she likes what she's seen so far of the Gargoyles, and while multiple partners wasn't something that she was looking for, she's open to giving it a shot, especially because she's always wanted a big loving family, and this would be the moment where she gets a ready-made one to slide directly into.
Absolutely.
So she calls up Elliot and she tells him that she's willing to have dinner with all of them, but there could be no more lies between them, and she wants to meet all of them in their non-glamored forms and have a real discussion about how they would date and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, for the record, on these glamours, you can purchase objects like a ring or a
Yeah.
necklace, and it can have a spell in it that lets you hide your paranormal creature appearance.
To make you look human.
Exactly. So Gideon, like back in book 1, he was doing it with his own magic because he was so powerful, but less powerful paranormal creatures have to purchase these spells. And they
Yeah.
can be of varying qualities, which we
Yeah.
learn about later from Elliot. A little bit more about the Bramblewick clan. It was originally founded by Lachlan, who was the old clan leader, and his gargoyle mate Graham when they decided they wanted to mate together with a human female named Eloise. And this caused them to have to break with their original clan because they were rejected for wanting to mate with a human. Again, gargoyle clans have kind of this elitist attitude.
Yeah,
where
they have very
purebred-
purebred.
Well, it's clearly an analogy to what Grace has been experiencing in
Yes,
her,
her
you know,
witch
very
life.
highborn, old money, hoity-toity witch family.
Yeah.
And this clannishness that the gargoyles also display. So there's obviously meant to be a parallel there. So they were, you know, kind of cast out, shunned by their old clan, and they said, screw it, we're going to make our own.
Yeah.
And once they decided to do that, they decided to keep building their clan by bringing in kind of foundlings, you know, these sort of
Yes.
adoptees
Yeah.
who needed help. So Alistair joined the clan as I think late teens, early 20s. Broderick, similar age, and Elliot probably came in as the youngest, but also came in last. And each of them was abandoned by their own clan because they were either a half-breed, you know, human and gargoyle, or, you know, a reject or an orphan from traditional gargoyle society in some way. So this is a real found family story,
Yeah.
as opposed to, you know, if the family you're born with isn't working for you, you can build your own.
Yeah. And I really like that Grace sees that and she's like, oh,
Hey.
I want some of that.
Yes.
I'm allowed to choose my family.
Exactly. It's a really meaningful story.
Yeah.
You know, not to spoil it, but we love this book. So backstory to finish that up, about a year before the start of the book, the former clan leader Lachlan passes away. And in this world, when a gargoyle goes to their final rest, they basically become a permanent stone statue. So
Yeah.
there's actually a tower at the Bramblewick
Yeah.
home where Lachlan's corpse is, his statue form is there, and like the people will still go up and
talk to it, and they visit it, and they have like picnics with him and tell him like, hey, this is
Yeah.
how things have been going. No, that was so sweet. I
That's
love
also
that part.
straight out of the cartoon, by the
Oh,
way.
that's right. Yeah, they turn into stone by
When
day.
they die, they turn into
Yeah,
stone
yeah.
permanently. Yeah. When Lachlan died, Alistair became the clan leader, and he's carrying a ton of stress and pressure from that. And that's really been affecting his relationship, especially his relationship with Elliot. So the three boys in the book learned restoration skills by practicing on the manor that got
Yes.
purchased. So
Oh man,
it's such a great looking house.
I imagine this house to be like the Sabrina house or like one of our old Victorians here in San Jose. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yes. Definitely the kind of house you could picture gargoyles hanging out on.
Yes.
Which is great. And they're just the sweetest three guys, because they're also very invested in the community. So they hire like other young at-risk supernaturals to work on their job sites.
sweet.
They're just the sweetest of pies. And Alistair, again, as the clan leader, is constantly worried that he's not going to measure up to Lachlan, that he's going to let the clan down. So he's just been withdrawing for a really long time. And that's really what spurred Elliot to decide to make this kind of outrageous choice of looking for
someone
another
else.
person.
So, of the other gargoyles, Broderick is the artistic, funny guy, and he's more laid back than the other two. Broderick is a carpenter, and he uses his talents to make and restore amazing carvings. And he can tell that there is a break in their relationship, but he's not actually sure how to fix it. And Elliot, he's the schemer. He was taken in by the Bramblewicks after he'd already been living in a paranormal version of a group home before running away to go live on the streets.
It's really sad.
It was. He was a very sad backstory. And he's never really grown out of the need to control things via manipulation. And while he is a good guy, his methods of how he does some of these things are a little suspicious.
Yeah, less than ideal.
Yeah.
I really, really empathized with this because I looked into adoption. You know, I had mentioned we had infertility issues in my prior relationship and all this stuff. And it is really common, one, for the system to completely abandon a kid when they turn 18. Because it's like people want cute little babies, right?
Yeah.
They don't want kids that are older, because the older you are and the longer you're in the system, the more emotional impact that
sort of
has
emotional
on you.
damage you have.
Yeah. And so they get adopted way less frequently. The system pretty much totally drops them. And so I have so much empathy for the situation that Elliot grew up in, and how, you know, how he kind of is still holding on to some of those behavior patterns that are not serving him anymore, but they're hard to let go of because they come from such a deep place of insecurity.
Yeah, and they come from a place of survival, right? It's like after he's living on the streets, I have to be tricky. I have to be manipulative.
have to survive.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
Yeah. Elliot's a good character. They're all good characters.
They're all so well written.
Anyway, these three boys, they create a hinge triad, meaning that both Broderick and Alistair are mated to Elliot, but those two are not romantically entwined, although they are not adverse to occasionally getting a little handsy.
Squeezing a knot or two here and there.
Lending-
What's a knot squeeze
lending
between
a
friends?
hand.
Between bros. A little bro squeeze.
Elliot and Broderick are in agreement that Grace will be a good addition to the clan, so Broderick starts the charm offensive very quickly. Alistair, in comparison, comes off as a total statue. He is curt and not very talkative, and Grace worries that he's actually just being dragged along with the other two. And at dinner, Grace sees Elliot in his gargoyle form for the first time, and she comes to understand that Elliot has a lot of body image issues regarding him being a gargoyle, and he often wears his glamour inside the house even though it's uncomfortable.
And he's shy.
Yeah, he's shy about letting Grace see what he actually looks like. She reassures him that she is attracted to his gargoyle form, but it's hard to undo a lifetime of a poor body image.
Yeah, and we do learn that Elliot came by this sort of body image issue because when he was in like the paranormal,
group home,
exactly, they were not allowed to go outside unless they were wearing their glamours. And this really reinforced for him that he needed to be ashamed of what he looked like, and that he could only live the life he wanted and be happy if he could pretend to be human.
Yeah,
and it was really hard for him.
Right, and now that he is an adult and has he's in charge of his own life, he used his money to buy a very fancy glamour that he wears
as often as he
can. Yeah.
It's like he's wearing his shorts in the shower.
Yes. And I really liked this part of the book because I thought it was really refreshing that in a book with a plus-sized FMC, that the body image issues are coming from the man and not the woman.
She definitely acknowledges that she has had body image issues, and they're even still a few moments where she gets a little insecure and goes, could this be about my body?
Yeah.
But it is not in any way the main focus.
Yeah.
It all comes from Elliot's insecurity about his gargoyle form, and that was incredibly refreshing.
Yeah, and over time, she's able to coax him into being more comfortable with his gargoyle side because she understands like where he's coming from.
She's been on that journey herself and learned how to heal her relationship with her own body, and she helps Elliot do that.
I liked that twisting that on its head.
Me too. So the dinner is going pretty well until the topic of family comes up. So Grace makes kind of a dismissive comment about just not getting along with her family and clearly wants to move on from the topic. But Alistair like doubles down on it for some reason and really sort of interrogates Grace about why family isn't the most important thing to her, because obviously it is
to him,
for him. And she tries to very politely redirect him and kind of get off of this topic of conversation. And he just keeps pushing and pushing.
He does not take that out.
No. And she eventually snaps and yells at him and says, look, not all families are loving and accepting like this one is. And I'm, if you can't understand that, then I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
And she completely storms off again. Broderick and Elliot are like, what the fuck, man?
What the fuck, man? You have your own family problems. Why would you say those things to her? Your family sucks too.
Exactly. And like Alistair just hadn't made the connection because he doesn't even think about his birth family anymore. He really only thinks about this clan as his family. Yeah. So it didn't really connect for him he's not emotionally in touch with the trauma from his bad family situation in the way that I think Broderick and Elliot are.
Yeah.
So he completely realizes that he's made an ass out of himself, and he flies over to Grace's apartment to try to apologize to her.
He's got to go fix that right away.
Yeah.
And Grace arrives home and she discovers that her magical wards around her apartment are down.
Sus. Dark romance.
Oh, yeah. Yes. The dark romance part begins.
Yeah. The anti-romance.
When she carefully enters her apartment, she discovers that there is a magical circle on the ground. There's a bunch of dead doves and bowls full of blood.
It's the worst.
Right? Oh, no.
Don't you hate it?
Don't you hate it when you come home and you find bowls full of blood laying
I haven't
around?
even put my purse down yet, and there's bowls of blood all over here.
Yeah. And when she walks into the circle, it kicks off. All of the dead doves are reanimated and they splatter blood
They're
everywhere.
flapping around horribly, like running into her, running into the walls.
That's some real the birds.
Yes, an absolute fear of mine.
Oh yeah, this was your worst nightmare.
I was so scared.
Yeah.
And
Well, good news. Alistair arrives just in time to wrap his wings around Grace and protect her from all of the flying doves.
fully crash landing through her balcony, door. Just busting in like Goliath.
Yeah. And once the danger is all past, she notices that there is a suspicious flower arrangement sitting on her kitchen counter with a threatening note that reads, "We could be so good together. Call me. You'll regret it if you don't.
Hugs
Theo."
and kisses, Theo.
XOXO.
XOXO, Theo.
Yeah.
And of course, he's the bad
He's
date.
the bad date for the phone guy. So Theodore Bradshaw the third, because of course he's a third.
Of course he is. There's 3 of these fuckers.
Yeah. He was the last guy that her mother tried to set her up with, and he is clearly interested in her family connections and probably the money that he'd get from having access to Grace. So despite ignoring her during their date and Grace clearly telling him that she would not be seeing him again, he has decided to force the issue and to use these scare tactics to get her back on board.
Oh yeah, the way to a woman's heart is definitely by breaking into her apartment and leaving dead animals around.
He obviously read some dark romance and he's like, girls love this shit.
Oh my God. Asking the AI, what do girls enjoy? Okay.
Yeah.
Choking, I guess.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so Alistair, apologizes to Grace, tries to make amends for his behavior. And he, seeing the disarray that her apartment is in, says, please come back to the manor. You're not going to feel comfortable sleeping here by yourself. Let us take care of you, right? We want to court you. We want to bring you into the clan. Let us show you what that can be. So that night we get my favorite spicy scene from the book, possibly like it's in my top 10.
This one's in my top 10 too. Yes.
So let me give you the rundown. It's late at night. Grace is at the manor. She's had a horrible day and she can't sleep. She's wearing her cute little night set, her little
sexy negligee,
her little vintage set,
Yeah.
and she's walking down the hallway looking for some water. Okay. She passes Alistair's cracked open bedroom door, and she sees Alistair and Elliot reconnecting. By the way, Elliot is a bottom, and he's getting like absolutely railed by the alpha of their clan.
They are reforging their bond.
Elliot is finding out what knots are all about.
Rediscovering
his enjoyment of Alistair's knot. And Grace is so stunned when she realizes that this is happening that she kind of just freezes. But that means she's straight up watching them.
Oh yeah, she's doing a looky-loo for sure.
And Broderick catches her spying on them. And he, of course, can smell how turned on she is.
Because it's a monster romance.
We love that. And he does the gentlemanly thing by offering to get her off. So
with his mouth.
Oh my God. With his mouth and his appendages.
Yeah.
And so we get this just absolutely incredible scene from multiple character POVs where we have the boys going at it in the room and then the two of them trying to stay quiet while they're fooling around in the hallway.
Watching them. Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yeah, this one's up there with me for the Whispers of the Deep, the kelp scene, and some Orc Mountain stuff.
It was memorable.
It's highly memorable. Yes. What a lovely group pairing we've got here.
Yes. The next morning, the hallway shenanigans are immediately breakfast conversation.
I mean,
Right.
as a polyamorous person, this is exactly how it goes in the morning.
Thank you for confirming that accuracy. And, this is much to the approval of everyone
Oh yeah,
involved.
everyone's high-fiving, fist bumping.
Absolutely. And no more secrets in the house.
Yeah.
Right. So Grace does a quick swing back to her apartment. Broderick is already there. He's helping to clean up and he's actually carving her a new door.
Yeah, so
extremely sweet. And they end up spending the day together. And this is really their, follow up.
Yeah.
It's, their encore from their hookup that they had last night.
Any relationship that starts with oral and ends up going back to the date portion, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely had sex before they went on
Actually
a
went on a
date,
date.
which is delightful. So they spend the whole day together. They find new things that that Grace did not have in common with Elliot, which is perfect.
Hey, he's checking off a few of those other things on that list.
He loves horror movies, and so they enjoy that. And things get pretty steamy with them. And this is when Grace gets to find out how knots work. Delightful.
She gets a hands-on.
Yes, a hands-on tutorial. And so when she's done familiarizing herself with this new feature of Broderick's anatomy, she makes a joke that she's going to need a Costco-sized order of healing salve if she's going to be taking all these knots.
Yeah, she looks into her witchy crystal ball and sees that in her future she's going to have a lot of Amazon deliveries of magical salve.
Yeah, I don't know if she got a look at Alistair's knot yet, but of course in the
Yeah,
book it's enormous.
it's gonna be proportional.
He's the big guy,
Yeah.
So Grace is settling in to the clan, and even though her apartment is cleaned up, Theo has gone MIA, and that is extremely nerve-wracking because he obviously knows where she lives. So she decides to go and spend some more time with the clan since they are all courting her, just so that they can spend more time together.
Yeah.
And to give her a place to lay low. So she gets to know, the other members of the Bramblewick clan, especially Eloise, who's really the mother figure of that group. And of course, Grace doesn't have a great relationship with her own mother. So developing this rapport with Eloise is really important for her. And she ends up confessing all of her fears, right? What could go wrong in this relationship and what happens if it doesn't work and we'll all be so heartbroken. And Eloise very sweetly says, if you're going to consider all these hypotheticals, you should probably consider the hypothetical that it does all work out.
Yeah, what if it does work out? Oh, that was so sweet. And she's like, it definitely reorients her to be like, I could be more positive about all of this situation.
To just being more open to different kinds of love, being more open to a love she'd never pictured for herself, right? So Grace, after that conversation, is really invested in making this work, and she decides to be the one that bridges the gap between her and Alistair.
Yeah, and they end up bonding over books.
Perfect.
Of course. And they spend evenings together with Alistair reading to Grace because with her magical power, she can't actually touch the books and read them without getting very distracted.
Very Beauty and the Beast coded.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get even more Beauty and the Beast.
I know.
Their relationship is tender, but it remains really chaste because every evening he sends her to bed with a cute little kiss on the forehead and he sends her to bed,
to be with Elliot and Broderick to get railed by knots.
And this isn't because of Alistair having a lack of interest. He's wary because he's not very good with words and he's already stuck his foot in his mouth with her,
at least once.
Yeah. And he doesn't want to say or do the wrong thing that's going to mess this up. Plus, he's also never seduced a woman before. So this is a big thing for him. He's like, how do?
A virgin trope.
A male virgin trope.
Sort of. He's
Love
definitely
it.
not a virgin, but he's never been with a woman.
He's never been with a woman. I'll take it. So in an effort to try to detangle his feelings for Grace, he begins writing her letters that he has no intention of sending because he kind of figures if he can at least get it down on paper that maybe when the moment comes, he'll be able to say what he actually means. And he puts all of these things in these letters and he hides them in his desk.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen with those letters.
I wonder. He happens to be writing on paper to the paper witch.
Let's see what happens. So the Theo situation keeps escalating, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And since Grace is no longer going home, Theo decides to target her at work. And one day she comes out of the office to see that her car has been vandalized in front of the library. And it says monster fucker in spray paint on the side.
Yeah.
So apparently we're adding racist to the
the
waspy
list of
witch
things.
situation.
Yeah. And while normally I'm happy to be called a monster fucker, in this occasion, it's not
only okay when
It's only
we say it, Emmy.
That's our word.
I can call you a monster fucker, but he cannot call us monster fuckers.
Yeah.
It's not fun when he says it.
True fact.
Yeah. So she tries to reach out to her parents because like her mom set her up originally.
Yeah, she's like, get this guy off my back.
Correct. She's like, it's kind of not cool. Can you please tell him I am not interested? Tell him to back off. And literally her mom is like, you should give him a chance. He's from a very good family.
He's got good breeding.
Correct. So they are absolutely no help at all. Thankfully, he's not able to get her at Bramblewick Manor, so she takes an extended leave from work and really has, no reason to leave her safe haven with the clan at this point.
The Gargoyles decide to use their special set of skills to make the confinement more bearable, and they build Grace her own library workroom.
Beauty and the Beast.
and yeah, they're able to tap into that thing that all bookish girls want, which is to slide on a ladder across
rows of books.
rows of books.
It's so good.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that. Oh my gosh.
Beauty and the Beast was my favorite Disney movie, so that's probably why I vibe with this book so hard.
Yes. And this is actually a Lillian Lark special from having read her other books. It doesn't happen in Stalked by the Kraken.
You're right, not in every book, but
there's a lot of times, where the girl goes to stay somewhere and then the guy makes her a room for her own special hobbies.
It's important to have your own space.
It is.
I know a lot of couples that have separate bedrooms, and I don't think it's weird.
I'm one of those, yeah.
Sometimes your sleep patterns and habits don't match your partner's.
I mostly just have too many hobbies to let anyone else in my room.
Noted.
I have too much crafting stuff to allow anyone else
to cohabitate with you.
Yeah. I don't want anyone else to have to deal with my dumb shit is really what it is. So.
The truth is Butch the Bird would not let anyone else in the room.
Butch the Bird, Jack the Cat, and apparently now the rats. Yeah.
I love it. That kind of rhymes. It's good. So Elliot, Broderick, and Grace are locked in. They're spending every night together, but Alistair and Grace still have not been able to progress their relationship past these like library cuddles. Mm-hmm. And Elliot puts on his little schemer hat and decides that he's going to orchestrate a situation. So he asks Alistair to meet him in the library and then intentionally seduces Grace in the room, knowing that Alistair is going to walk in on the middle of it and interrupt them.
Oh, yeah. And like a real quick aside on this, during this spicy scene, Elliot's going to try to like rip off her clothes. And she's like, no, absolutely not.
Yes.
These are my expensive, fancy underwear. Don't you dare. I'm going to take it off and put it on the chair.
These panties were $35.
Yeah.
You
cannot rip this. No.
Oh my God.
I
laughed.
I was like, oh my God. Every time I read a spicy scene where he rips the girl's clothes off, I'm like, I would kill you. How dare you?
Do you know how hard it is to find a good bra?
Yeah.
I have 5 bras. I only wear 2 of them.
Right.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, like if you want to rip my underwear off, we can
That's a different story.
We can make a plan to do that, but do not
make a plan. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go to Costco. I'm gonna get a 5-pack.
Yeah, get them a crappy one.
These are the ripping panties.
Mm-hmm.
These are not.
Yes.
That's such a you
and
thing.
It's so cute. This happens in more than one of her books. So I see you, Lillian Lark. You've also got an issue with this.
I'm so grateful though, because this is actually the kind of detail I'd get hung up on.
Me
Because
too.
I'm like, she wears vintage.
She does.
Are
like,
you
don't
ripping
do
off
that.
her vintage panties?
Yeah.
Quit it.
Yeah.
Her thigh highs with her fancy garters.
Oh man, if you ripped the garter belt, no sex. That's it.
No, you're on sex timeout.
Yeah. So thank you. I appreciated this so much. But anyway, back to the actual sex. While Alistair might not be able to initiate things with Grace, he's perfectly fine with jumping in. And Grace finds herself in this really vulnerable position where she's naked in front of Alistair for the first time. And some of that self-doubt really starts creeping in about how he might react to her body.
Right.
And he does reassure her that he loves it. And when Elliot tells him that she secretly has a breeding kink, it just heightens their compatibility.
Yeah, he's the alpha, so he has that instinct.
Oh, you want to be bred, Grace? Mm-hmm. And during the scene, though, Grace is unable to take Alistair's rather sizable knot.
Prestigious Appendage.
Girthy. And she feels like she's a failure in this situation. And Alistair does like reassure her that knots are not
They're not
it's
a
not a deal
breaker.
breaker. You don't have to take this for us to have sex every time.
Yes.
And they're like, we're going to work up to it, right? But enter the overthinker, Alistair. He avoids her for the next few days, and her self-doubt begins to creep in again, and their budding relationship goes back to floundering. But of course, we know from Alistair's POV that this is not because he found the sex bad or unattractive.
Or he's avoiding her in any way.
Yeah, the reason he wants to stay away from her is because he realizes that he loves her, and he's like, I have to figure out how to tell her. Until then, I'm gonna stay away.
Yeah, because if I'm gonna ruin it.
I'm gonna ruin it if I just say it out loud, blah, right? But the miscommunication gets even worse because there's one night where Alistair is walking past the library and he overhears Grace telling Broderick and Elliot about how she's in love with them, and then they're like,
What about Alistair?
What about Alistair? You love him too, right? And she's actually like, I'm actually not sure where I'm at with him.
Which is completely
Totally fair
for where she's at.
Yeah, but of course Alistair takes this as like, I must remove myself from this situation because she will never love me.
Yes. And I just wanted to slap him so hard.
Yeah.
And this is, for me, that was as bad as the miscommunication trope gets in this book.
Yeah.
And as you know, I don't love miscommunication.
Yeah,
But
same.
I strongly feel that it serves an important plot purpose for these characters. So I was able to be okay with it. Dramatic conclusion, right? We're approaching that point in the book. Before Alistair can sabotage himself, Grace gets a call from Theo again, and he has kidnapped her human best friend, Amelia, and is threatening to human traffic her to a Fey realm if Grace will not come and meet with him alone.
Talk about drastic shit.
Bro, like overreacting
Yeah,
much.
you shouldn't have to hire thugs to kidnap people to get married. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe that's not the best start to a romantic partnership.
Yeah.
So it turns out that Theo is in a ton of debt and he needs Grace's money in order to get, like probably pretty dangerous paranormal loan sharks.
To pay off the loan sharks, yeah.
And they're like loan sharks with magic.
Oh, God.
Right. So they're going to fuck him up. And Grace and the Gargoyles are now going to have to figure out how to save Amelia and also how to deal with Theo in a more permanent way.
Yeah.
So as you guys know, we don't want to spoil the entire ending of the book. So we are going to stop there. But there are a few things that are going to happen in the wrap up that you can rely on. So eventually Grace is definitely finding the letters.
The stack of letters, yeah.
So she's going to be able to finally understand the complexity of Alistair's emotions and his love for her. And because of her psychic power, for her, that's really just as good as him saying it out loud.
Yeah.
So that bridge is able, that gap is able to be bridged with the paper. And Grace is going to have to deal with the fallout of her human friend Amelia finding out that paranormals exist.
Yes.
Because, there's kind of like an enforced secrecy that, the supernatural and the paranormal doesn't reveal itself to humanity. Now that bubble has been burst with Amelia. But this actually sets her up to be the main character for book 3, which is called Entranced by the Basilisks. A very good one and also a why choose.
Yeah, another why choose and better basilisks than ones that we've read.
Yes, that one is better than Kiss of the Basilisk.
Yeah.
So, some things that I absolutely adored about this book.
Yes.
I loved the bisexual representation and the poly representation. I appreciated that we got crossed swords and that the men had their own unique relationship and continue to have their own, even once the female main character gets incorporated. But I do think it is worth noting that we have not read any female queerness.
Yeah, we
yet.
have not found any female queer books yet on this podcast. We're kind of having to do super popular books for this podcast.
At least for
now, yeah. But we're on the lookout for some female queerness in our books.
If you have any recommendations, you know what to do.
Yeah, drop them below.
Yeah. I also really appreciated how different each of the characters felt and how unique her relationship and, you know, the way she related to each one of them was. And I loved that we got a variation between slow burn and insta love. So like obviously Alistair and her are much slower. He's a more introverted character, but we get much quicker progress with the other boys, and we have the established relationship of Alistair with Elliot.
Yeah.
So there's never a dull moment in the spice. You know, you're not ever left unfulfilled.
No, and we honestly got as much spicy and romantic enjoyment out of these 400 pages as honestly we did from the 800 that was in Pucking Around. Like, this was the condensed version of everything we wanted out of a 4-way romance.
Yes, I think that's part of why we wanted to back these two, because don't get me wrong, I loved both books, but I do think Deceived by the Gargoyles is a better read for that.
And this book really reflects my experiences with open relationships, especially when there's that one metamor that is the introvert
of the polycule.
Yeah, and all of the extroverts are like, no, he's a really cool guy. You just got to get to know him better, and then you'll love him. I was like, yes, I have been in that experience. That definitely happens
to you.
And so I really enjoyed also that her love journey with each of them is different, right? Yeah, again, like you said, the insta love with Elliot, and then, you know, the slower burn with the other two. I agree, same thing. I really appreciated that. That's way awesome. More realistic to me. That you fall in love with people at different rates.
At 100%. And, you know, like I said, there is miscommunication trope in here, definitely more than I think in any of her other books.
Yes.
You know, Elliot's early lying, and then Alistair not being able to express himself and misinterpreting what Grace said and all of that. But I do think that it serves an important plot value here. It would be hard to progress the story without it in this case.
Yes.
So I was able to come to terms with it.
Yeah, obviously I do not suggest lying to people about being polyamorous.
Yeah, please don't do that.
You know, but I totally get it. Like, I do not normally tell people in my personal relationships, like, necessarily right up front, oh, and by the way, I have 3 partners. Because I want them to see me as a person.
And not just as a poster child for polyamory.
Yeah, and I do think that people are more likely to be accepting of the polyamory once they know you as a person. And they go, oh, well, she's a normal person. She just also happens to have, you know, this other thing. Which I think is how this happened in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the truth is if she had known about him being polyamorous, she would have said no. She would have said no, and then she would have never gotten to find her true family.
Right, because he also lied to the matchmaker and said, oh yeah, I'm single. I don't have any other mates.
Definitely single.
But their match was real.
Yeah, true. That. Yeah, so the lesson here is be open to love in all the weird places and all the weird shapes that it can take.
Yeah, love is love. It doesn't matter what it looks like, especially if it's sexy gargoyle shaped.
Especially if it's 3 sexy gargoyles.
Whew, don't mind me. So it was a 5-star book for me. I absolutely cried during the conclusion.
Yep, same.
I don't want to spoil it, but a character is in mortal peril, and there's like a really intense cliffhanger for a few chapters. And I hope that's not too spoilery, but I adored it. Yeah. Even though I don't have a cry requirement, this book passed the cry requirement.
Yeah, it was very cathartic at the end when things go well, but there was definitely like leading up to that. No, this one got
choked up.
This one got the cry award for me. So same thing, 5 stars.
Yay!
5 stars.
We agreed. So if you really loved this book, there are more in the series. You could go backwards to our episode 4 review and enjoy Stalked by the Kraken. Found by the Lake Monster is
also
a 1.5.
Yeah, and it's really short.
We skipped that one. And then if you want to go forward, there's a Basilisk's book, but a good one this time. There's a dragon book, and then the most recent one is the devil book.
Yeah, the dragon book is my favorite. Hoarded by the Dragon. I just reread it, loved it again on the second go around.
That's a really good book. Heavy pregnancy trope for that one.
In fact, it's a surprise pregnancy trope because that's a trigger for a lot of people.
Yep. But I agree, that's a really good one. And I don't know if you've read this, but she also has a sort of slight offshoot series. The first book is called Pair of Fools, and that one goes back to Sophia, the private investigator, who was a harpy.
Yes.
And she ends up with Mace, the demon best friend from book 1, and Mace was really fun.
That's a good couple. I can see that.
Yeah, I really liked that book, and that one was Pair of Fools.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Lillian Lark, we love your writing.
All bangers, Lillian Lark.
So good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So this has been Smut in Public.
Yep. And we're gonna read Smut and report back.
We sure are. Bye.
Bye.